Matloff v. Wallace mean that cases that were dismissed under McGirt are going to be refiled. I'm Tulsa Attorney James Worth, and that is the topic we're discussing. The new decision from the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals completely doing a 180 from its decision in Bosse and deciding that McGirt is not going to be applied retroactively to post-conviction relief cases. So how does that affect cases that have already been decided? There's been a number of cases that have already been dismissed on McGirt that were at post-conviction level where they already had a final conviction and it was being attacked collaterally rather than on a direct appeal. Of those, specifically, McGirt itself, the defendant in McGirt, his case was ultimately dismissed, not by the United States Supreme Court, but by the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals after the decision from McGirt from the Supreme Court that sent it back. Then they had to evaluate whether the fact that the Muskogee Creek Nation was never disestablished means that there's no jurisdiction, which it does, and means whether the case has to be dismissed. Ultimately, the court determined that it has to apply retroactively because it's a subject matter jurisdiction issue, and it vacated the conviction, dismissed the charges against McGirt. And that was based on a post-conviction proceeding. So under the new precedent, that would not have happened. So what happens is that mean that the state can refile criminal charges against McGirt? It does not. That decision has been made. They can't refile it because that's a decision that is with prejudice that it was dismissed. So the state of Oklahoma does not have jurisdiction to prosecute him. They cannot re-prosecute him irrespective of the decision in Matloff v. Wallace. However, that does not mean he cannot be re-prosecuted in federal court or tribal court as applicable, so long as it's still within the statute of limitations of those governmental entities. So doctrines of res judicata, collateral estoppel, they prevent us from redoing decisions that have already been decided, in this case, those dismissals, which means those cases that have already been dismissed successfully under McGirt for post-conviction relief cannot be undone unless there's still an active appeal on those filed by the state. But as far as future cases where they have not yet been decided on post-conviction relief, it's going to be an issue that has to be addressed, and it may be taken up by the United States Supreme Court to see whether this decision or the Bosse decision ultimately stands as being the law of the land going forward. If you've got questions specifically about that, want to talk to an attorney, want to do so confidentially, to get that scheduled, you can go online to makelawEasy.com.